Is it possible to be saved by a tweet? Well, Stormy Daniels might soon find out. Daniels is a household name now, the woman famous for exposing Trump as a philanderer, which we already knew, as a con man who uses people and then tosses them aside when he's done, which apparently is pretty quickly, and lastly, as a man in possession of a mushroom in a pretty inconvenient place.
They might fall off, though. Oh!
Do you know the mushroom man? While she may have grown to fame for exposing Trump's infidelity, what Daniels is most famous for now is bringing down Trump from former president to convicted criminal. Daniels' testimony in the Trump criminal trial was the absolute linchpin that tied all the other actions together into fraud. And what thanks did a grateful nation heap upon her? Not much. She has been harassed by MAGA morons who refuse to engage with reality, and she was the victim of an opportunistic lawyer seeking the spotlight who set her up to pay massive legal fees to, wait for it, Trump. That's some great lawyering there, Michael Avenatti. Daniels spoke with Rachel Maddow about the aftermath of the trial and the price she's paid for standing up to Trump. Let's take a look.
How are you going to make enough money to live?
I'm not. Like, it's literally like between legal fees and not being able to work, especially because I wasn't working during, remember the trial got pushed.
Yeah.
So I had taken off a bunch of time before, and then it got extended. So there were several months where I didn't do anything. I just stopped doing my podcast because they were freaking out about everything I said. I didn't even get to tell the podcast company why I stopped talking to them, because I didn't want anything I used to be entered in, just create more work for the prosecution, basically. But I've lost a lot more than I've made. Mostly my peace, mostly my daughter's privacy and time. Time I'll never get back with her.
There are two things Daniels talks about here that are worth unpacking. How she's lost money by standing up to Trump and what's at stake for her daughter. The first of these I alluded to earlier. Daniels hired Michael Avenatti to be her lawyer. Avenatti, who is now in jail, thought he could just replicate the success of Roberta Kaplan, the far smarter attorney who sued Trump on behalf of E. Jean Carroll and won a defamation suit. Without Daniels' permission, Avenatti sued Trump for defamation over one tweet. And because he's not as good as Kaplan, he lost, and Daniels got stuck with court costs that are now up to $500,000 and have to be paid to Trump. But that's not the worst part. We all know Trump is a bully and hires the most unethical lawyers he can find to engage in the lowest and most threatening practices they can muster. Well, Trump's team is trying to bully Daniels into paying this $500,000 fine by threatening her daughter. Watch as Daniels describes how low they will go.
They're demanding personal information about my 13-year-old daughter. I refuse to fill out that form. I am there.
Identifying information about her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where she lives, her legal name, her date of birth. Like, why do you need that about a child? So I didn't fill out that part of the form. I left it blank. And they rejected it and sent it back and are demanding that I be held in contempt with sanctions and that I have to pay this money. I have to pay $600,000 plus sanctions and be in contempt of court, which comes with a warrant possibly, because
an arrest warrant.
Because the things I said, which they found him guilty of, I also have to pay, and I'm protecting my child. And you could be the biggest Trump supporter, a woman voting for Trump, love him. Ask that woman, you gonna vote for Trump? Yeah. Do you love Trump? Yeah. How do you feel about him having your young daughter's legal name, address, and identifying information?
Yeah.
Now you know there is only one reason why Trump's team wants private information on Daniels' daughter. It's so they can set loose their unhinged followers to harass her. It's intimidation factor, pure and simple. Although I know what some of you were thinking. Trump wanted that information so he could hit on the daughter. And yes, I know the Epstein records include Trump forcing himself on a 13-year-old girl who looked like his own 13-year-old daughter. But no, that's not it. Trump's team is engaging in these underhanded tactics just so they can intimidate and punish. And it's easy to be intimidated when you are on the verge of bankruptcy and being threatened with contempt of court and seizure of assets. Daniels is clearly in need of help. Certainly, she's in need of a better lawyer. But a judgment is a judgment. Unless, of course, you're Donald Trump, and then you can just delay that for years. But Daniels is on the hook for $500,000. Still, there might be a happy ending to this story. A woman who's a member of the Stand Up to Trump Club posted a tweet this morning to a page that was showing the very clip I showed. E. Carroll, who won a $500 million judgment against Trump, tweeted this simple statement: "I'd be happy to help." It's highly doubtful that Carroll is joking. Carroll made it very clear that she is not going to use Trump's money to enrich herself, but rather is going to spend all of it on worthy causes. There's little doubt she sees helping another woman who stood up to Trump and is being punished for it as a worthy cause. Carroll knows all about the harassment, the mudslinging, the threats, and so she is the last person who would make a joke about it. Here's hoping the help is in funding lawyers that can tie up the judgment cost for years until it has to be paid. And even then, paid only in allotments that won't go beyond the limits of the canteen account for the jail Trump ends up in. E. Jean Carroll, on behalf of a grateful nation, thank you. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.